What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. Hey, guess what today is?
Football day.
It's football day.
Football
for those that are
day
listening,
today.
We're recording on Wednesday, but for those that are listening, it's football day. We're going to get Lions Chiefs. So that means it's time to do officially our NFL Week 1 preview. Oh my God. It's been so long coming. Many have speculated this is the longest offseason of all time. But the way we're going to do this is we are going to basically take our rankings of how important or how interesting each game is from week 1. And that's how we're going to talk about it. We're going to start at 16, and we're going to go all the way up to number 1. So whichever game we think is the least interesting, and then we're going to finish whichever game we think is the most interesting. But before we get into that, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing on this glorious Wednesday for us, Wednesday evening?
I'm doing pretty well. Last day of the offseason, I still have several record predictions to do. I'll get them done tonight. I think I have I haven't done the Panthers or the Packers.
You haven't done the Panthers yet.
I haven't done the Saints. I haven't done the Cowboys. It might be just those 4, though.
Okay.
You got 4
this,
more
man.
in you?
I got 4 more in me before the game starts tomorrow. I can definitely do 4 more.
You could get 1 done tonight, or 2 done tonight, 2 done tomorrow.
Maybe I'll just do 4 in a row right after the podcast ends.
Oh, God.
I still have some hot takes. The Cowboys take and the Packers take hasn't even dropped yet. Gonna make some waves.
We don't want to see the Packers video.
Packers take's gonna kick ass. I've been looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it is gonna kick ass. It's gonna be awesome.
May the NFL comment section have mercy on your soul, Theo.
I can handle them.
Matt, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, I know people can't see it. You got a new Radiohead poster up.
You can't even see it. Yeah, you can't see it at all. I do. It's behind me. I'm redesigning the whole behind me area. It'll be done hopefully by next record, and it's going to look really cool. I'm going to get a lot of really nice comments about it. But yeah, outside of that, went to the UC game, went to college football game. Love going to college football games. Very excited about that. And your boy Emory Jones, Theo, very good.
I know what happened. He wasn't that good last year.
It's something about the Cincinnati aura, I believe.
I guess so.
Or it was against an FCS school. One of the two.
Well, FCS isn't that much harder than FBS, or easier. Wait, I don't care. Let's move on.
Let's talk about the games.
Let's talk about the games. Again, we're going in reverse order, starting with the games that we think are the least interesting, finishing with the games we think are the most interesting. Starting dead last. I think we all vote.
Tearing into it here.
Tearing into them. Dead last. No one cares about these. I think we all 3 of us agreed that this was the least interesting game of the week. The Rams versus the Seahawks.
I changed my mind on this a little bit, though. I think Seattle's on upset watch.
I could see it. I pretty quickly put these in order. I didn't take too much thought into it. I mean, I guess I'm kind of interested to see a couple of things. How does Seattle look in the trenches? That's a big question about them. How does the offensive line continue to develop? And I guess it's hard to get excited about the cupless Rams. But,
and the potentially JSN and Devin Witherspoonless Seahawks as well.
That does kind of stink. But I guess where Stafford is as a quarterback is still a question mark, and that'll be exciting to see. And what McVay can cook up is always a little bit interesting, especially when he's working with such a limited arsenal. So it's not all bad.
Yeah, I'm excited to see year 2 of Clint Hurt, the defensive coordinator for Seattle. Last year, they changed after being the Legion of Boom for so long, being in that cover 3 type of defense for so long, and going to more 2 high shells kicked their ass a little bit up front. It's a little bit harder when you don't have the numbers in the running game all the time, and they did not adjust to it well. They brought in Bobby Wagner, someone who can go downhill and fit the run. I assume they'll tweak their fronts a little bit to make it a little bit easier, maybe a little bit more penetrating downhill type of scheme instead of catch and read type of scheme, perhaps. And it's a good test for them right away because the Rams were the 6th best rushing team second half of the year. Cam Akers ended with 300-yard games in a row. So I think it'll be I think the Rams will at least be able to do that. Or based on last year, they would be able to do that. And I'm interested to see if it's more of the same from Seattle or if they can stop it this time around.
Yeah, no doubt. Maybe that's I mean, do you think they're going to be playing less too high and that's why they invested in the secondary?
I think that's possible. I think what's more likely is just a different style of run fitting, perhaps more one gapping instead of gap and a half or two, which means, if it's gap and a half, you're playing one gap, absolutely, but you're never playing it so aggressively that it would prevent you from making a play in the other hole. That's gap and a half. Two gap is truly like you're responsible for both things. That's not as common as gap and a half. And last year, I think that's more of what they were doing. This year, I wonder if they send the linebackers like flying
with Wagner back.
With Wagner
who,
back.
That's the kind of thing that he does at this point in his career. I could see them leaning more into that. That makes sense to me.
And they're also going to have Adams is supposed to be back, right? Is he going to be good to go week 1?
I thought you sent a link that said that he was not good to go week 1.
That's true.
Oh, did I? I can't remember if that was Adams because there's what did I ask? Adams, Dobbins, and Michael Thomas.
Adams, Dobbins, and Michael Thomas.
Who's going to play more football
Jamal Adams
this year?
is not. Yeah, Jamal Adams is not playing week 1, but Jordan Brooks tore his ACL not that long ago, and he is back playing week 1. So
wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty impressive turnaround, and I'll be interested to see how he looks. He's a favorite of mine to watch. The Rams have played the Seahawks well these past couple of years. Before last season, when the Rams sucked and the Seahawks were surprisingly great, Sean McVay was 8-3 against Carroll before that, and both Rams versus Seahawks games last year were played without Aaron Donald, and they were both pretty close games last year. So I actually think this one has I know we ranked at 16th, but I think the Seahawks are on upset watch a little bit versus LA here.
Yeah, I just think like we're ranking at 16th because there aren't that many new guys to look at.
It's a division. Yeah. There's some key injuries, and it's a divisional game. We'll see it again later,
Right.
But
we ranked some other divisional games higher.
We did.
That is worth noting. At number 15, we have the Arizona Cardinals, everyone's first overall pick watch team, versus the Washington Commanders. And I think the big thing with Washington is, of course, Sam Howell, as well as Emmanuel Forbes on defense.
Yeah, there's some guys to watch there. I mean, just from a quarterback perspective, how good is Howell is going to be is obviously interesting. And I think really the big draw is like, how bad exactly are the Cardinals going?
Right.
Like, isn't that like, let's see it. Right. I mean, you're bringing in Dobbs, just off another team so quickly. But there's some things to watch there with Forbes for sure. And it's also kind of a higher pressure game than you might think. I mean, Rivera is not guaranteed anything more than probably about 5 games, really. So this is like an absolute must win for Washington, or at least for Rivera. And what Bieniemy does with, Washington's kind of new look offense, that's all interesting stuff.
Yeah, I anticipate Bieniemy will be running a lot of the RPO, like one step, get the ball out type of stuff for Howell. I don't know if he'll be piloting like a deep drop passing offense. I hope not, at least right away. I don't think that fits his skill set or maximizes his skill set. I'm not super interested in this just because Arizona, that really is my only question with Arizona is like, just how bad are they? Maybe with all the disrespect all offseason, they can kind of come out and get one against a Washington team that doesn't project to be all that good. But this one, I struggle a little bit.
You struggle a little bit. I think it would be kind of funny if Arizona came out. What is their first few games of the year? Washington, New York Giants, Dallas Cowboys, 49ers. That's a pretty brutal first 4 games with already being like not that great of a team. They just start off 4-0. How about
What if?
what if?
What would you do?
What would you do?
I don't know, but I'll be maybe loosely tracking this one. I'm probably not going to watch it, to be 100% honest. I'll see whatever I need to see on Red Zone or statistically.
Yeah, I'll definitely want to check out what Sam Howell does and how he performs. And it's kind of in sandbox mode against the Arizona Cardinals defense. But, it's a new coaching staff. I think we kind of know what to expect from Jonathan Gannon. I think it'll look like there won't be too many interesting wrinkles, but I'm interested to see the tackling, the fundamentals. I'm not really that interested in the tackling and the fundamentals of the Cardinals.
We're tuned into the Cardinals tackling, let me tell you.
But that's what he's supposed to be good at. So will that be notably good for them right off the bat? Or I don't know. Zaven Collins with the position change, I guess. Something to watch out for.
There's some things to watch.
There's always some things to watch, but less in this game than any of the others. Should we pick a winner in these games, or would that make these sections more interesting?
Maybe, but we do have to do the stay hot locks, remember? So I don't know if we want to.
That's still picking a winner.
I guess we could pick a winner, and then at the end we can do the locks.
Okay.
Right.
I'd say my winner is the Seahawks and Washington so far. I'm just rolling with the favorites at the moment.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going to say, I'll say LA upsets Seattle because I said it was a potential upset watch. And then I won't say that for Arizona versus Washington. I think Washington wins week 1.
Okay.
I think the defense is too good.
Fair enough. Number 14, we have Tampa Bay versus Minnesota. I think it's, again, no shocker why this doesn't project to be a super outstanding game. Minnesota lost a bunch of pieces on defense. And maybe that's the exciting thing for them is how does this new defense with Brian Flores calling the shots? How does that look? But then in Tampa, you have it's going to be Baker at quarterback. And we kind of know how that... Brian Flores is probably going to look really good because he's playing Baker week 1.
Well, I looked it up. Baker has played Brian Flores before.
Oh.
The Browns put up 41 points.
Ooh.
Hold on. He torched him.
On. Did Baker torch him, or was it a Nick Chubb? Was it a Nick Chubb game?
Baker torched him. He threw 350 yards. This was the 2019 Dolphins defense that was the worst in the league.
Okay.
I don't understand why there's so much excitement about this Vikings defense from Viking fans. They're like, we have a new coach. It's your team is terrible. Your defense is terrible. The corners are not good. The front 7 is not good. What do you want Flores to do with that?
Ivan Pace time, baby.
Ivan Pace can only do so much, and he's still an undrafted free agent. But at this, he's got the Matt stamp, so I guess I can't.
That's why I didn't have this game lower. I'm really excited to watch Ivan Pace. I am, dude. But it's an interesting storyline at this point. It is. He's an undrafted free agent starting week 1, which speaks not only to him but probably the Vikings defense as a whole. I've admitted, but I still think there's a lot of good players in this game.
There are stars.
I'm trying to say positive things. There's still a lot of good guys.
It's going to be interesting because the Vikings are playing in it, and they're incapable of not being down 4 points at the 2-minute warning, and Kirk Cousins engineers a comeback, just spamming plays to Justin Jefferson. That is every Vikings game for 3 years.
Hey, it works.
To some extent.
And they have Addison now, so he doesn't have to just spam it to Jefferson.
He doesn't and Hawkinson, importantly.
And Hawkinson, yes. He was a big part of their offense in the second half of last year.
The corners on the Tampa Bay receivers are going to be the most exciting thing to watch in this game. They absolutely need to hold up this year to run this defense, and they get a test right away. I think we'll be able to tell pretty quickly if Brian Flores is actually onto something or if he just doesn't have the guys to run this defense.
Yeah.
I agree.
I say you should start Mike Evans in fantasy.
It's probably not a terrible idea. Also, Tampa Bay's new offensive coordinator from Seattle, he has never called plays before. So we don't really know what that is going to look like. I think they're just going to get under center and run it a lot. I think
so. What I'm hearing is Baker Mayfield against a coach that he's put up 350 yards before, coming into a game with a somewhat unfamiliar playbook. Could we just see a kind of off the walls, confidence oozing Baker Mayfield? Is that possible?
No. We haven't seen that Baker in a long time. It's, I don't know, maybe. I think that maybe he could Rams it up and surprise everybody for 1 week. I'm not. It's on the table. It's on the table. I think that we're going to see a pretty run-heavy Buccaneers team, though. Even with all the blitzing that Flores figures to do, you can still maybe run against that. But I think they're going to try their best when Baker's their quarterback. But
yeah, I mean,
who knows if it'll be successful because it wasn't last year.
The Bucs offensive line is probably a better because they have Jensen back. So
no, they don't.
What?
He got hurt.
His career is over, basically.
When did that happen? I didn't see it.
A couple of weeks ago. He's gone.
This is okay. So yeah, I don't know if they do match up very well up front.
No, I mean, it's a big loss. It's a big loss, but I don't really know too much like the running game or in the trenches. Like it'll probably be a pretty big mid-off. I don't know who exactly is going to win that between the Tampa Bay offensive line and the Minnesota defensive line. I just think that the corners and their quality and to face such a big test right away is the main storyline here.
In my experience, when Mike Evans is going up against very bad corners, all you got to do is throw it up to him and he'll figure it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think, man, if that shows weakness early in the game and the ground game isn't going because the offensive line isn't that good, I wonder if Tampa Bay just giving shots or toss-ups to Mike Evans can get it to him.
I'll say Tampa Bay wins.
Yeah, why not?
That's my second upset.
Their defense really is still very good, at least on paper.
Yeah, on paper.
They got guys. They got enough guys. It's maybe getting a little bit weaker, but it's not all bad.
Yeah, I think I'm going to keep faith in Jefferson.
Not a bad idea.
The Kirk Jefferson connection seems to be pretty lethal right now, so I'll pick Minnesota. So I think I've gone 3 favorites in a row. But, oh well. That brings us to number 13. I think, Theo, you had this ranked as your least interesting game, now that I think about it, which is Vegas versus Denver.
What will Sean Payton do with Russell Wilson? Like, what is that going to look like? I think that we all suspect that they're going to get under center with a fullback and try to run it up the gut as much as they can and then play action off of that, try to hit some big plays. I think that's a pretty good – I think you can do anything versus the Las Vegas defense and have it be relatively successful.
You talk about
Correct me if
defenses.
I'm wrong. Are they not running it right at a certain you-know-who then?
Jerry Tillery? That's
Jerry
what I
Tillery.
would do if I was them.
With Javonte? Oh, yeah.
I'm excited to see Mike McGlinchey versus Max Crosby. Obviously, they gave McGlinchey a huge contract, and Max Crosby is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. So I don't really think that's going to go super well for McGlinchey because he's not a super reliable pass protector, and right away that contract could look pretty questionable. That's a storyline to watch if he can't hold up against an elite pass rusher like that. And that's, I think, one hope that Las Vegas has in this game is Max Crosby, like 4 huge havoc plays. Maybe not 4. So how about 2 or 3 huge drive killing plays? They're going to need it.
At least that. I mean, 4 might be the correct number. I don't know.
I'm
How
interested to
much?
see how they use Nate Hobbs as well. He got torched outside last year. I'd like to see him move back in the slot.
Yeah, I just don't really know how much. There just isn't a lot to be excited about with the Raiders' defense. I guess you're
No.
curious about what they're gonna do about how their offense looks. I mean, they still have Devon. They still have Devontae.
I think it's
Jacobs
going to look
did end
pretty.
up get a deal done, so they'll have him.
It's going to look pretty similar to how it did last year, just with Garoppolo under center now.
Hopefully, it runs a little bit smoother. The fit between Carr and McDaniels was always kind of awkward last year. Maybe the timing and the rhythm will look a bit more natural with Garoppolo, who's worked with McDaniels before. I mean, you got to hope so, because what else do you bring Jimmy Garoppolo in for? It's all timing, point and shoot stuff.
Yeah, so if that's not there, then
No, if that's not there, then they're really, really screwed. I'm interested to watch both sidelines. I think the pressure is on for both of these teams after really underwhelming 2022 campaigns. Like, if Las Vegas gets blown out, like, what is Devontae Adams? Is he gonna lose his cool on the sideline? I don't know. I could definitely see something like that happening with Russ or Devontae on both sidelines. Not that I'm projecting it, but I don't know. I feel like tensions are kind of high in both buildings, and an embarrassing loss to start would be kind of a disaster for both of these franchises.
certainly.
I think it's less like the Broncos are make or break and more Wilson's make or break. No.
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Wilson, absolutely. Like, if he starts poorly, can you imagine, like, against the Raiders defense?
Yeah.
It could get ugly fast, like boos. I don't know where if it's in Denver or
I don't know if
in
anyone's
Vegas.
ever booed Russell Wilson.
What? I've booed Russell Wilson.
Has a stadium ever booed Russell Wilson?
They should. I'm sure when he walked into Seattle week 1 last year, he got booed.
Maybe.
What do you mean, maybe? He definitely got booed. He's Russell Wilson. No one likes Russ.
I feel like most people like Russ outside of the fact that he's a little bit corny.
Well, that's like all he is. What do you mean outside of that?
But like, he's a good guy. He's not like he's a dick.
He's not a dick, but as Sean Payton said, he's got to stop kissing babies. He's not running for public office. His own coach doesn't like him, man.
I don't think this is playful banter. I don't think
Playful
that's
banter. Maybe.
I don't know.
I'm sure he's been booed before.
Possibly.
Probably by Denver fans multiple times last season, I would bet.
That I could see. So who do we have winning this game?
I'll take
go
Denver.
Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll go Denver.
So I'll take Denver as well. I don't see any reason to pick the Raiders.
I don't think the Raiders are going to be a good bet. They look nice on paper a little bit, like the offense, as you mentioned, Blaiden. There's a lot of skill position talent. I just think that they're unserious. They have worst team in the league energy, and I'm trusting my gut with that.
That's fair. At number 12, we have the Colts versus the Jags. No Jonathan Taylor.
I mean, I
But-
just don't expect it to be a very good game, right? Like, that's why this is low. But obviously, there's a few things that are exciting. Like, the expectations are sky high for Trevor Lawrence. Calvin Ridley, how is he going to match up with T-Law? And you get to see Anthony Richardson. So it's like, okay, you kind of get both sides. Both sides offensively are pretty exciting. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah.
But the Colts probably will not win, right?
Yeah, no
I feel
Jonathan
a little-
Taylor, no Shaq Leonard. That's
Is Shaq out?
I haven't heard if
He's
like
questionable.
because he was like slowly coming back, but I don't know if he's.
Oh, he's in concussion protocol. Interesting. I kind of regret how many wins I gave the Colts in my record prediction. I said they'd win 5. It's kind of a lot for the Colts, isn't it?
It's based on your feelings about Anthony Richardson. So it's coming from a good place.
It's coming from a good place.
They may be very, very bad.
They might be
however.
very
Anthony Richardson's
bad.
going to have some like very bad games too.
There's going to be a couple mixed in there, I fear. But
or he could be Lamar Jackson and be perfect right away, and they'll go like 8-1.
Lamar Jackson was on the bench right away. He was not
That's
perfect
true.
right away. He stunk in that Chargers playoff game, if I remember correctly.
But he was like almost undefeated as a starter right away.
Yes, we'll see. I hope that the Jaguars offense lights it up. I have such high expectations for them with Kirk and Ingram and all the weapons. And I think Lawrence should look like an MVP candidate, and there's no excuse for that not to happen right away. And I think what's interesting about it is not only Richardson, but just the potential fireworks we could see from that offense versus a secondary that really looks poor. And I mean, I think that we could see a lot of points on the board, and that could force Anthony Richardson to air it out, which would be interesting. It would be interesting to watch. It would get a lot of views if I were to do a game review of that many Richardson passes. So that's why it's interesting is mainly Richardson. And I think that he's one of the most fascinating guys right now, but I think it'll be pretty lopsided towards Jacksonville.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Richardson and the Colts, but hey, it'll be a great day in Jacksonville, Florida. I can I can probably estimate.
Yeah, it will be. It's an exciting new era of Jaguars football, the first in a long, long time. So what's next?
What's next? The Titans and the Saints.
Yeah. This one's maybe could be even a bit lower. Titans versus Saints. The Titans are the least interesting team in the league, man.
But they have D-Hop. So maybe you look for a more exciting passing attack.
I don't think so.
D-Hop is good, but he doesn't move me so much to where I'm like excited to watch this game solely for him. It's interesting to see what Carr and the Saints offense looks like. That's, a big question. How much, can they get Olave and Thomas involved? How much can two, high-end receivers, assuming Thomas is still himself, which is, remaining to be seen. How much can that matter? And then, honestly, I do think it's exciting because the Saints' defensive line is probably their biggest question, no? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not strong. They lost, almost everybody, so it's all new faces, and you're going against Derrick Henry. Granted, not a very good offensive line, but you're going up against Derrick Henry week 1. How does that play out? So that's something to look forward to, and, we'll see if the Titans' passing offense can be any better. But outside of that, it is a lot of the same.
Yeah. Could probably put this a little bit lower, but
the Titans sneakily got a new offensive coordinator this offseason. I don't think it'll be too much different based on how much he ran when he was in Houston. Like, if you have Derrick Henry, you're probably getting brought in to like pound the rock if that's been your history. I don't think it'll be too different, but I'm excited to see Okonkwo as well, the tight end. I think that he could be poised for a breakout season. So I hope that he has a big role week 1 because he's, I think, one of the more exciting tight ends. He's such a receiving threat, made some spectacular catches last year, some really huge plays after the catch. He, I think, is a sneaky must watch at tight end, or could get to that level someday soon. Like, he is a very exciting receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Harold Landry will be back, Arden Key, and I'm excited to see Trevor Penning against those guys. We didn't really get to see much of Penning last year.
Totally forgot about that. Yes.
He's the starting left tackle, and he came from Northern Iowa. He's kind of a decisive
Got a year
player.
Of pent-up anger.
He does have a year of pent-up anger. I didn't hear about him getting kicked out of OTAs this offseason at all.
He's locked in.
Maybe he is locked in. But Trevor Penning is a sneaky, exciting guy to watch. So that's one other player or matchup to look out for.
Yeah, so there's a decent amount going on. It's just not like these big names, a lot of that you really think of.
And Michael
Right.
Thomas, my darling baby boy, slant boy.
I've given up.
He's healthy week 1. We know that you're going to get at least this week out of him. He was so good when he was healthy last year, or at least scored a lot of touchdowns. I don't think he did anything too huge yardage-wise. So I'm always excited to see what limited games we have of MT.
I give up.
I'm taking New Orleans.
Me too.
I'll be different. I'll take the Titans. I'll trust in Derrick Henry, D-Hop. I'll trust in. They still got some guys on defense. The corners are a little, but outside of that, they've got some guys there. So I'll
the
take
linebackers are a little. You can't silence me.
I just did, man. At number 10, we have the Texans and the Ravens.
This one maybe should have been lower, right?
I don't know.
This is not going to be a good
Stroud.
game.
It's not maybe, but there's a lot to watch for.
There's some things to watch for, but it's not going to be a very good game, most likely. At least it doesn't project to be. I am interested to see Stroud. I'm interested to see what Monken does for the Ravens. That's one of the most interesting things, or
Yes,
the entire week really for me, and just what the new look Ravens look like. But overall, it's not going to be a good game, most likely.
I think Baltimore on paper definitely outclasses Houston, but I think Baltimore could look so different that there could be maybe some early growing pains. And I think Houston with D'Amico, maybe the defense is better than we expect. Will Anderson is out there. They had a pretty good front four last year. They surprised me. They were top 5 in pressure rate last season. Malik Collins, Jerry Hughes, they've added that 3rd overall pick. Anderson, like I already mentioned. Stingley in a different scheme. We'll see if he lives up to the billing of a top draft pick. I think that Houston versus Baltimore, it could be lopsided if Baltimore is fully operational right away, but that in and of itself would be pretty fascinating if they just come out with a big statement win and blow out Houston. You'd really have to buckle up for Baltimore the rest of the year, and I think they're one of the most exciting teams if that happens. So
I'm bought into Baltimore, so I think they will get this one done.
I hope so, man. I hope so. Baltimore has all my favorite players on it.
I hope
so.
they don't.
I was about to say, speaking of precious baby boys, J.K. Dobbins.
J.K. Dobbins.
If he gets the ball a bunch this year, he's going to go crazy.
Yeah.
He's due. I don't know. He's still so good.
I think that Dameon Pierce is set up for a massive workload in Houston, too. Just the way they lined up when Stroud was out there in the preseason. It was so much under center. They tossed the ball to him. They were using him as a one-cut guy more than follow-up pulling guard like he was last year. So a bit of a change of scheme for them. Which I think is good because Dameon Pierce was at the bottom of all the rushing metrics last year, or the advanced ones. And it's like, he's too talented to be at the bottom of all these metrics, man. So changing something up in the way they use him, I think is going to be interesting. And they gave him kind of a vote of full confidence. It seemed like he was the starter basically every single rep this preseason. They said our offense will only be good if Dameon Pierce is good. So I think that they could use him like Derrick Henry or something, honestly. Like, I've kind of become Dameon Pierce pilled. I know I was last year and then kind of quit on him, but we're back. And then I don't think there'll be too much on Stroud's plate because of this, but rookie quarterback, 2nd overall pick, obviously intriguing.
I mean, that's exciting to watch no matter what. Also, David Ojabo. How is he going to look?
Yes.
He's right now listed as a starter.
I was about to say, is he starting?
Right now, he's listed on ESPN, but that could not be true and maybe doesn't reflect the snap count he's going to see. We'll have to actually watch.
The receiving core in Houston is all unknowns as well, and they've got a chance to make some noise because the Baltimore secondary isn't at full strength because Marlon Humphrey's injury. And that Baltimore secondary is a big weakness for the team overall. Like, that, if anything could derail their season, it's it's probably the corner room. So they have a chance to shut down Houston because the receivers are unknowns and they're, rookie draft picks and whatnot, or young players. And maybe Nico Collins is really good. Like, we'll see what is more of a weakness, the corners for Baltimore or the wide receivers for Houston, because it's kind of weakness on weakness right away.
I mean, the only one who's out or questionable is Humphrey. I mean, the rest of the
that's
secondary.
The biggest name.
Yeah, I mean, you still have the safeties. You still have Marcus Williams. You still have Kyle Hamilton. Rock Yassine's not bad. Outside of that, I mean, the depth at corner, it's like Ronald Darby and Kayvon Seymour. Like it gets pretty rough after Yassine, but it's not a total lost cause. But Nico Collins could have a good game. It's not unthinkable.
I could see a bit of an adjustment period for Baltimore at the beginning of the season, especially while Marlon Humphrey is out. I don't know if it'll be a blowout week 1, but I do think Baltimore will win. I think Lamar can run around.
Yes. I think Baltimore wins and covers.
Ooh.
I'm bought in.
What's the line for this game? Do you
10.
know?
Covering 10. I don't know if I'd bet that, but I also don't know if I'd bet on Houston.
Yeah. I mean, covering
There's
10,
some things to watch.
There are.
That's a heavy cover, but hey. Next up, we have Game of the Week. Matt's Carolina Panthers going up against the Atlanta Falcons. Have you ever been stressed about trying to find last-minute tickets? I know Theo's nodding his head yes, because he knows the struggle. And I know the struggle, and Matt knows the struggle.
Oh, yeah.
It's a pain trying to find last-minute tickets at a good price. Well, fear no longer. Worry no longer. With Game Time, you can get killer deals on last-minute tickets, and they're the best price guaranteed. So you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for all the fun you're going to have. All right, listen, and I'm looking at concerts on Game Time. I'm looking at comedy shows. I'm looking at the Browns-Bengals game. I'm looking at the Ohio State-Penn State game. Listen, you can do it all with Game Time, and that's what I plan on doing. It is truly the best place for last-minute ticket deals. So forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. So if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And this is why it's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country. So go ahead, snag the tickets without stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app or go over to gametime.co, create an account, use the code STAYHOT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code STAYHOT for $20 off. So download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
I think they're going to lose Panthers.
Wow.
I do. Brian Burns' situation, I mean, I don't even know if he's going to play. If he doesn't, pass rush is like a complete disaster. That's not good.
Right.
Yeah, you talk about maybe a new system might take a little while to get into. I think the Panthers have a whole new defensive front they're running. I think that could take a little while to get into. And there's just a lot of playmakers on that Falcons offense. So we'll have to see. You also got Bryce Young out there first game. So that's really exciting. Number 1 overall pick. I'm super pumped for it. But we'll see how the receivers do. And there's the young guys on Carolina who, really need to step up, who are probably, a little bit longer shots to step up just, based off, Terrace Marshall Jr. we like, but we're getting into year 3 here, and Mingo, second round pick, but is he going to step up right away? Panthers offensive line is also a massive question mark. I mean, they were just a disaster, a complete disaster in the preseason. And out of NC State, the 4th round pick, whose name is just slipping me.
If he's a Panthers lineman,
Salava, maybe. I don't think that's it. I don't think
that sounds like a receiver.
No, it's not a receiver. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Was it
Zylstra?
Zavala?
Zavala. That makes more sense. Yeah, he's starting apparently. So
over who? At what position?
He's starting at guard. I guess it would be
Is it
in place
Christensen
of
or
Corbett, who is not ready week 1. I think that's the idea.
I was about to say Christensen was, I thought, pretty good last year.
He was okay. So we'll see with the Panthers offensive line and what they can get going on offense and how they use Miles Sanders. And then the Falcons, I mean, it's the Ritter show now. Pressure's on, and you got Bijan. And I would say, I mean, this game features the 2 frontrunners for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Probably the guy who was with the best betting odds.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It should be a good game. I'm not like super confident the Panthers are going to lose outside of the fact that I just don't trust them.
I don't trust Atlanta because Atlanta is, if there is a cursed organization, it's the Falcons. But I think the Falcons can cover the spread. I think that they've got a very clear identity. I think that they know what they want to do, and I think they're ready to do it week 1. Does this strategy of run it all the time, zone, have a ceiling? I think yes, but can it beat the Panthers pretty thoroughly week 1?
I think certainly is not beating the Panthers at home. So
I think the Panthers are gonna, again, an adjustment period. I think these new coaching staffs, it takes a little bit sometimes to get your identity and your feet settled, even for a vet coaching staff like Carolina. I think Carolina is gonna come out firing for Bryce Young. Like, I think that they're not really going to hold back. I don't think it's going to be
so.
I think that it's going to be a pretty full passing attack with deep dropbacks. I think with Stroud, they're going to really lean on Pierce. I think the Falcons want Young to basically operate a full like attack right away. I think there's going to be RPOs. I think there's going to be a little bit of everything. So, and I just don't think the team is enough to like be great at everything right away. The Falcons, they really limit what they do. And I don't think that's going to be the case with Carolina. And I think one day, if the Carolina Panthers build out their roster, that's a better thing to go with than what Atlanta has built. But what Atlanta has built is very high floor. And I think they could really kick Carolina's ass week 1, especially if Burns doesn't play.
Well,
yeah, that's my fear.
Here's what I'm reading. Adam Thielen was a limited participant at Wednesday's practice due to an ankle injury. DJ Chark did not practice Wednesday. Terrace Marshall Jr. was a limited participant at practice with back injury. Yeah, you could be down to just Shenault at receiver. So
it could be bad. It could be bad.
Shenault and Mingo and
yeah, and
that white guy.
Who did we trade? Yeah, who did we?
Number 80 something. The white
Chiefs
guy
from the Chiefs. Yeah, he's kind of a baller.
What white guy from the Chiefs is kind of a baller?
No, he's what white boy are you talking about?
I don't know, the one who was lined up at X in their last preseason game.
No, they got.
I'm looking at the roster.
Smith Marset.
Oh,
yeah. He's kind of a Twitter legend.
He is kind of a Twitter legend. A Nate Tyson sports tweeter Matthias agenda star. So yeah, he is kind of a sports Twitter.
Yeah, the Jonathan Mingo, Laviska Shenault, Emir Smith Marset receiving room. That
don't forget Tommy Tremble.
And
81 for the Panthers, you said? That's Hayden Hurst.
No, not 81. I think I said 83.
Oh, I don't think he's on the team anymore, man.
It could be. I mean, it was a preseason game. Chark wasn't out there, and neither was Marshall, so they had some, and they hadn't traded for Smith Marset yet, so some random was out there.
Well, Smith Marset might get some run, but
it's not unthinkable. Yeah, I'm just looking at like
Burns reportedly was at practice today, though. So if he plays, that changes a lot.
Being at practice and practicing are not the same thing.
No, he was practicing.
Oh, okay.
If he plays, I still think they'll lose, but it definitely helps.
Okay.
But yeah, new defensive coordinator for Atlanta. We'll see if they can get some sacks because the Panthers' offensive line is not carrying much momentum into the season. These last 2 years, they have had less sacks than the Eagles just last year. So new defensive coordinator, new pieces along the line. This is really the opportunity to instill some confidence in that pass rush or make it look or appear that it could be different. And I think it'll need to be, because if they don't get any pressure week 1, then it's like, well, this was your opportunity.
Right.
Or this is an opportunity. Obviously, they've got more chances.
Yeah. I'll take the Falcons.
I will also take the Falcons.
I'll take the Falcons.
Sorry, Panthers. And sorry, Matt. But moving on to an NFC East matchup, a battle between the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Football Giants. Theo, you have the Giants finishing ahead of the Cowboys.
It's a must win. It's a must win.
Yeah.
This is the NFL.
I mean, this is just going to be a good game. That's why this one is high. Now we're starting to get into the really good games.
Right.
As far as what to watch, I mean, how the Giants offense looks with actual like weapons, with guys who are good. After the catch will be interesting. At least some speed there, even if maybe a few of them are more gadgety. But you at least have Waller, you know. And with the Cowboys, it's like, how do things look without Zeke? And how do things look in the McCarthy offense? What did they change up?
Yeah, I expect to see a lot of quick passes, something safe. I expect there to be a heavy emphasis on like ball security. And I really think that Dak is not going to throw a pick week 1. I think that's going to be of paramount importance for everything they do this year.
Betting
It's like
odds for Dak Prescott to not throw an interception.
I believe in him. I believe in his ability. He said that he was going to throw less than 10 all year. And I think that that's going to be a real focal point after what happened last season. And Dak hasn't always been turnover prone. And so I think that getting rid of Kellen Moore means perhaps less aggressiveness. And who knows if that's a good or bad thing. But I do trust it'll mean that it's not going to be Dak pick Scott anymore.
Right.
For better or worse.
Yeah. I think the potential new vertical passing for the New York Giants against this Dallas Cowboys secondary is going to be a show. Got Trayvon Diggs, Stephon Gilmore, probably the deepest safety group in football last year. And it's probably still the deepest safety group in football this year against Waller and Hyatt. I mean, it's going to be something to watch. I'm excited for that.
And I'm interested to see if Dan Quinn goes with as much one high, like dime package or nickel, like big nickel package with 3 safeties on the field type of looks. Last year, that's what they did more than anybody. But then they drafted a big space-eating nose tackle in Mozzie Smith. So that could maybe indicate that they want to bring some bodies out of the box. But Mozzie Smith didn't have the greatest preseason performance ever. So they may not want to put that kind of pressure on him right away. But schematically, did Dan Quinn change anything up? That'll be something to watch for sure. And same thing with Daboll. It's a great defense versus a great offense. Dallas was able to win both times against New York last year, but they're 2 playoff teams. So I think it'll be a game. I'm interested to see this New York Giants pass rush fully functional. Last year, you had Azeez Ojulari in and out of the lineup. Kayvon Thibodeau missed the beginning of the year. You know, this year, all 4 are going to be out there. Williams, Dexter, and the edge rushers versus an offensive line that I think could be a weakness that doesn't really get talked about for Dallas. Terrence Steele just got a big new contract, and he's been improving greatly, but he didn't tear his ACL all that long ago. Tyler Smith, really good rookie campaign. How does he follow that up? You know, Zach Martin and Tyron Smith, very, very old at this point. Maybe it's all good, but I could also see like there's a lot of ifs on this offensive line, and this is a really good test for them week 1 to test their mettle, and we'll see how they hold up. I'm interested to see that battle in the trenches.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't disagree.
I think I trust Dallas's defense.
I would agree.
I'm going to go New York here. I think that this is one of those tiebreaker games that fit into my headcanon of both finishing 9-8 and the Giants being the 6th seed and Dallas being the 7th seed. So I think New York kind of needs that game if my headcanon is correct.
Dallas does not have a good track record when it comes to week 1. I don't think, do they?
It wouldn't surprise me under Mike McFrawdy. Whole offseason to plan against McCarthy. You're probably cruising to a victory, huh?
I'm trying to see how Cowboys record.
I wouldn't take those numbers too seriously.
I wouldn't take them too seriously either.
But they are 1-4 in the last 5 years. So
it's not great, but
they did get beat up pretty bad versus Tampa Bay last year, didn't they? And then crushed Tampa Bay in the playoffs. So they did get off to a slow start.
But hey, doesn't mean they can't turn it around. So I'm going to take Dallas. Matt, I think you're taking Dallas. Theo, you're taking the Giants.
Yeah, sure. I'll put my faith in Daboll, Kafka, and whatnot.
Can't hate it. Next game between the reigning Super Bowl losers and Bill Belichick, New England Patriots. I think the Patriots have the potential to be top 5, if not top 3 defense in the league. How they look against a Philly offense with a new offensive coordinator, that'll be very interesting. Obviously, you expect not too much change in the Eagles offense. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. They were amazing last year.
2 new coordinators in.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a big deal. You got a whole new defensive, not a whole new defensive line, but the defensive tackle rotation is going to be, one of the number one things to watch for sure. How good can they be? Outside of that, it's pretty much regular Eagles offense. It's just a top tier offense versus a top tier defense. And Gonzalez will be exciting to watch. He's getting tested immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. People played a lot of man coverage on Philly last year, which is kind of counterintuitive based on, the wide receivers that they have. And it didn't really work because of the receivers that they had. But there's a reason that teams do it, and that's because you need to devote as many bodies as you can against this option run attack, and Jalen Hurts is out there. It steals the gap away. So you can't really go light in the box. Otherwise, they're going to gash you. And if you're putting numbers in the box, it's probably better to just go man than zone. And New England has the people to actually do that. They've got such a good defensive coordinator, like Belichick every single year. Like we've talked about it a million times on this show, how they got rid of J.C. Jackson and still put out top 5 results as a defense. They added another corner, a corner that we all really liked coming out of Oregon. And Belichick is the best defensive backs coach in the league, it seems like. So if they can match up with those wide receivers and really stuff the Philly running game, I can imagine them plunging into the box and just not really going anywhere, and this being a game.
Did you guys know, I've been reading that Kenneth Gainwell is supposedly going to be the lead back in Philly?
I know that. That's why I have him on my dynasty team, Blaiden.
Good for you, Theo.
That's right. That's right.
That's a little surprising. I think that'll be kind of interesting to watch how he does, because he's only played 300 snaps the last year and the year before. I'm just like, he hasn't played a whole lot for them, but that seems to be the guy they trust the most right now.
They gave him a lot of carries in the playoffs. He was the lead guy there. Nick Sirianni wore a Kenneth Gainwell shirt. Did you see that? That's what Fantasy Twitter made a big deal of, the Kenneth Gainwell shirt he wore. I guess they were onto something.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. I like that.
I think I would take the under in this game. I think it could kind of be a slog. But that doesn't mean I think it could be kind of a closer defensive battle than people think.
I wouldn't expect the Patriots offense to score a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So,
no. And I guess, Jones is the other big thing. And how does it look with, a real offensive coordinator and whatnot?
Yeah, how do the Eagles linebackers deal with the supposed RPOs that we're going to get from Bill O'Brien coming over from Bama? I think that they're going to really target those new guys in the middle of the field. And, the Eagles need to stop that. That's a weakness that is being that's poised to be exploited as soon as possible. So it's an early test for that new group, and it's an early test for New England. I think New England could keep it closer than people think, but I'll still say Philly.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad synopsis of how this game could go. But it is fascinating. Theo or Matt, are you going to take the Eagles too?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Eagles.
So we're all going to pick the Eagles here.
This episode of Stay Hot is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. I'm on the app right now. And you may think that the fantasy draft season is over. The real football season is about to start. How could I possibly draft a team? But I'm looking on Underdog right now. I'm seeing $50 drafts. I'm seeing $15 drafts. I'm seeing $10 drafts. I'm seeing $0 drafts just for fun. You can pick a team at any point during the NFL season and just let it ride. It's best ball. It starts the best players automatically. So if you're ever looking to draft a team, play any kind of game mode, pick them. Underdog has got it all. And if you use the promo code STAYHOT, they will double your deposit up to $100. So you put $15 in, they give you 15, and you've got 30, something like that. And you can spend that however you want on the app. So check out Underdog Fantasy. I think it's the best fantasy app around. You know, I personally have it downloaded. I was at the Underdog party at the Super Bowl. I got a tennis ball that said Underdog Fantasy on it. Pretty neat.
Sweet.
It was sweet. So, yeah, go support Underdog Fantasy. Use the code STAYHOT if you're into that kind of thing. And happy drafting or picking or whatever you want to do.
Next up, we're taking a look at Green Bay versus Chicago. Theo's great Green Bay Packers. You have them making the playoffs. You have them winning the NFC North. Does it start off strong week 1?
I was hoping so, but Dobbs and Watson both hurt their hamstring at practice this week. They're questionable. If they don't play, it's going to be very difficult because this receiving core, even with them, is not the strongest in the league. Samaje Toure and Davion Wicks or whatever.
Wicks is questionable, I believe.
Oh, is he?
Oh,
Nice.
brother.
I don't know. Questionable can mean a lot of things, but
Bo Melton, is he still on the Packers? I don't know. I hope that they can play, but obviously the big thing to watch will be Jordan Love, and he will be the big thing to watch no matter who the wide receivers are. But obviously he'd have a better chance of winning with better guys out there. What's the offense going to look like now that Rodgers and his grumpiness towards the whole system is out of there? I think we have a pretty good idea what it's going to look like. A lot of motion, RPOs, design stuff for Love to hit. I think that there's going to be plenty of real concepts as well. And I say real is in just like more like what you expect from
more putting more of the
style. I don't know.
No, putting more of the workload on the quarterback, putting more on the thrower to make a play or make a
right, to read the whole field. It's not just designed to hit one place and with a lot of window dressing to get that one read open. I think that there is going to be plenty of that, and I think Love can handle that. I think there's going to be a lot of empty formations, spread everybody out, try to take advantage of matchups. But again, you'd really hope that Watson and Dobbs are out there because especially Watson is your matchup exploiter. I think that Love is going to perform well, as I've thought all offseason. So no matter who the receivers are, I expect him to still, give them accurate throws or at least avoid disaster. But if they're not getting any separation, a lot of those, throws could still fall incomplete. But I think that he's going to outplay Fields. I'll say that. He's going to outplay Fields.
And this is why this game is so. First off, it's Bears Packers. That's why this game ranks highly. That's just good Twitter fodder or whatever. But Fields, I mean, God, he is the number one player to watch in terms of like, how is this going to go? Because I genuinely have accepted I don't know. Like I have no clue, but I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for DJ Moore. How is he going to be able to really get it, some sort of level of consistency in the passing game with the short stuff? Or is it just going to be, I can hit the big plays, but I can't do the little things right? And then I guess, how far off is this Bears defense? My guess would be still pretty far from a talent perspective, but can they show some flashes? They don't need to be great, like I've said, the Bears could be headed in the right direction and still not be awesome this year because, last season they were a year away from being a year away. Now they're probably a year away, but you want some key players to look good. You want some certain guys.
You want
strong.
the secondary to at least flash. Like the safety duo looks elite. They love Johnson, the corner. They love. I mean, Kyler Gordon was bad last year, but he was a rookie. He should grow. And regardless of who's out there for wide receiver for the Packers, the Bears have to hope their corners are better. Like you got to expect to be better than Watson and Dobbs. That you've obviously got to expect to be better than Toure and whoever else. So maybe Love has all day to throw, but you're hoping for some coverage sacks, some plays where he has to throw the ball, some plays where if he tries to get it out in rhythm, it gets broken up. Like you can't expect some dominant pass rushing performance from anybody on the front four. It would be nice if someone flashed, but I don't know if you can expect that from this team, especially if Bakhtiari plays and Yannick Ngakwe's on him. Like that might be your best bet, but if Bakhtiari is out there, it's probably not happening. So the secondary, I think, is the big thing to watch if you're a Bears fan, because I don't think the front four has too much hope. I think the secondary has more hope, and the linebacking core as well.
And they went out and got new guys. They got new faces for a reason. They didn't get them to not be good. My honest opinion. I'm also interested to watch the defensive tackles, though. I mean, they spent 2 seconds on Dexter and Pickens. That's not nothing. And I don't think they're going to start. I don't think they're listed as starters, and they don't need to be, to be good players right away. But that's serious assets. How much are they going to be in the rotation, and how are they going to look?
At least a flash, at least one arm over that torches the tie, even if the ball's out fast, like something. You'd love to see something. Otherwise, that if they're just bull rushing and getting nowhere over and over again, like popping up too high and getting washed out of the play, like you can kiss any hope of this defense being good goodbye. But if they have some flashes,
it's a very good Packers offensive line, though, and they're going to want to run the ball right at them. That's going to be the idea. So, 100%. I think there's a lot of interesting units here.
I'm really interested to watch Tremaine Edmonds. I thought that was such an interesting and bold strategy by Poles to trade away Roquan Smith and immediately pay a bunch of linebackers in free agency. We saw a little bit of Edmonds in the preseason, and it was only a handful of plays, but I thought he looked bad on those handful of plays, to be completely honest with you. They were running mesh, and he kind of lost his mind and decked his own guy, and both the guys running the mesh were wide open. There was a play where he had inside contain and got juked out, and his ankles got broken, and then they subbed him out. And it's like he had an opportunity to make an impact coverage play and kind of choked, and then got juked. Like, I just don't think he's as good as Roquan Smith. So he needs to look better than that. And obviously that was preseason. This is the regular season, but he's got to really step it up from what his preseason performance was.
Theo, I do have some breaking bad news for you.
They're making
as of 15-minute what?
Breaking Bad news?
Oh my god. I've never seen it, but as of 15 minutes ago, Rashawn Gary listed as questionable.
I believe that. I mean, he hasn't had too much practice this offseason. I hope he plays. I mean, they asked him what his favorite highlight was from last year, and he said, just roll my entire last season. And he's right. Like, he was really balling out. So that's another thing to watch. Like, I think that he's a deep sleeper for Defensive Player of the Year if he plays, but obviously if he's not 100% or is held out entirely, that'll hurt. But even though the Packers are banged up, I think the Bears defense is still just a bit too bad. I think the Packers are more well-rounded on both sides of the ball. I'm gonna take Green Bay and hope that the wide receivers play.
I'm going to take your word for it, Theo. I'll roll with your boys.
There we go.
The Bears are at home. I think I might roll with them, man. I think they're gonna be explosive. Fields, Herbert, DJ Moore. They're gonna create explosives on offense. I can't guarantee the same for the Packers. So I think I'm gonna trust in that. And especially if Gary's questionable. Like, I know that's like
Well,
I
yeah,
would
if
imagine
everyone's
that he
hurt,
would play, but like I still even think just more explosives is probably better. So I'll take the Bears. But
Fair enough.
hey, Packers could still absolutely win it.
Bears are favored.
Next up we've got the 49ers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers looked awesome all of preseason. They appear to be firing on all cylinders. A lot of Steelers fans all offseason have been saying, we're going to come out, we're going to beat the 49ers, and we're going to shock the world. Could they?
I don't know. If Bosa was out, I would feel a lot better about it. But Bosa, I think, is a mismatch on both of their tackles to an insane degree. I know that they're all excited about the offensive line and how much better it is this year compared to last year.
Low
right
floor.
Tackle,
low bar.
Broderick Jones, I don't think he's going to be like top tier right away. And then their right tackle last year was, I had kind of a longer name. I'm not even going to try it. He was just as bad as Dan Moore was. And now you've got Nick Bosa coming back. Maybe he's a little rusty after the holdout, but I don't know about that. Nick Bosa is pretty special. So I think that Pickett's going to be under a lot of pressure. And I think that the big question around Pickett is like, can he hang in the pocket and nail throws over the middle of the field? I think that you need to be on your A game to beat the 49ers, and they were on their A game in the preseason, but they didn't face anybody like this 49ers defense.
Is Broderick Jones starting?
It's either him or Dan Moore.
I looked it up. I think it's Dan Moore.
It could be Dan Moore. If he beat Broderick Jones out for the starting job, it wouldn't surprise me based on what I saw from Broderick Jones in college. Like, he didn't look ready to defend Nick Bosa, that's for sure. So I think that Pittsburgh offensive line is in for a bit of a rude awakening. I think that the preseason, going against preseason and then the 49ers with Bosa, I think it's going to look very, very different. And Steelers fans are going to be reminded that it's not all.
Yeah.
Not all preseason
I think there's
defenses.
Some real chance for that. But the Steelers defenses, it's a threat. The new look 49ers offensive line, probably not as strong as it was last year. How is that going to be against, one of the best pass rushes in the entire NFL? And it's Purdy time. He went 9-1 last year, and wins are a quarterback stat, as we know. So is he going to continue to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league? We'll have to see. I
worry about the linebackers for the Steelers against this 49ers team. The last time we saw the 49ers, not quite the last time, but we saw the 49ers play a team with bad linebackers in the playoffs, the Seahawks, and guys were absolutely wide open the entire time. Right. Guys were couldn't get off blocks at the second level, and McCaffrey was wide open, like huge rushing lanes all day. That is a very important position if you are going up against the 49ers, and the Steelers still are not very good there. So lots of stars on this defense. TJ Watt and Cam Hayward figured to give the offensive line a lot of trouble because neither of those guys are going to be lining up on Trent Williams. But overall, I think that the 49ers, I think they're going to beat the Steelers as good as the Steelers looked this offseason.
That offensive line really is in for a challenge. Bosa, Armstead, Hargrave. I always forget they have Hargrave now.
I know. Yeah. I know. It's such a
this defensive line is stupid. It's stupid.
Yeah, they could just totally kill Pickett. I like the receivers and all, and I think the Steelers will, win some games this year. But the 49ers, let's not forget. They're fully healthy right now. They're tough to beat. Although the 49ers have gotten off to some slow starts in the Shanahan era. The year they went to the Super Bowl in 2019, they kind of had a miraculous late season comeback. And even last year, I think they began 4-4, but they didn't have McCaffrey when they began 4-4.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I mean, there's also a world where the Steelers defense is just firing on all cylinders too. They have Watt, they have Hayward,
Yeah.
they have Minka. How much
Purdy,
faith do you want to put in the corner duo in Pittsburgh? I'll leave that to viewer discretion, but it's not unthinkable.
Yeah, Purdy got away with some stuff last year. I think that he was pretty lucky to have the stat line that he did. There were some drop picks. There were some bad moments that didn't get taken advantage of. That if he comes out and doesn't look any better, and he can put the ball in harm's way. He's not below some bad throws, or above some bad throws. So yeah, I think the Steelers defense is pretty damn good. So this could be another lower scoring one as both of these young quarterbacks maybe get calibrated early in the season, but I'm going San Francisco.
Yeah, I think I'll take the 49ers also. Mostly because I hate the Steelers and I don't want to see their fans happy ever. Except for my girlfriend. That's the only one.
Fair enough.
So that brings us to the actual game of the week. I'm going to this game. The Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals.
How will Cleveland win, Blaiden? Tell us.
By making Joe Burrow's life in the pocket a living hell. The thing with a lot of these, like Mahomes, a lot of these great pocket passers, Mahomes, Herbert, Burrow, like you don't want to blitz them because they can get the ball out quickly, right? And they can really make you pay. The Browns aren't going to have to blitz. That's going to be what's so awesome. They were getting pressure with 4 all preseason. They're going to add Myles Garrett to that mix, and it's going to be lethal. Now, the Bengals did make some improvements to their offensive line. I'm not denying that. They're not better than this front 4 that's coming for them. I can assure you of that. And I think the Browns secondary, it's gonna have some. There's gonna be some plays that get made. It's Jamar and T. Higgins. I mean, it's what you expect. It's gonna happen. But I think we're gonna get enough pressure that we can at least get some sacks in, kill some drives. Because I mean, I can't remember where exactly, but data shows that like sacks are the number 1 drive killer.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can get a couple big sacks on Burrow, that would be huge towards going to win this game. And then obviously on offense, got to get Nick Chubb involved. People are going to want to see like the Browns air it out with Watson, I think, right away. I would be scared doing that. Like, I don't really know how good he's going to look right away, especially considering like the Bengals do have a very good defensive coordinator. They've had a very good defense the past couple of years. I would trust the ground game, trust your offensive line, run behind Chubb, get some short stuff with Elijah Moore. He can make plays after the catch for you. You have, Donovan Peoples-Jones if you want to attack some stuff in the red, Njoku if you want to attack some stuff in the red zone. I think keep it pretty simple on offense, but on defense, they're going to get after the quarterback, and I think that's going to be the main way they win.
Yeah, I definitely think we're going to see a couple sacks from the old Browns defense on Joe Burrow, who improved his sack rate dramatically over the last half of the year, but still someone who can hold the football and take more than the average quarterback. Last year, he had a horrible week 1. He came out and threw a bunch of picks versus the Steelers. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he doesn't come out fully firing this year either, and maybe it's more in the terms of holding the ball and taking sacks. I do think that the Browns defense is good, and I think they're going to eat. But the big thing to me is Deshaun Watson. Like last year, he had all the excuses. Like he didn't play. All of that is true. This year, he has a full off season, and they paid him enough money and they gave up enough picks for him that like really last year the expectation is like you should have been so great that you should have just come in and do it because that's what they paid him. Like, I mean, Lamar couldn't get a bigger contract than him. Hurts couldn't get a bigger contract than him. I mean, they gave him an outlier deal. So yeah, he has to be great. And it doesn't matter that he hasn't had too much playing experience over the last 2 years. He has to be great after a full off season like this. And I kind of don't think he will be. I think that they're going to run the option. They're going to get in gun and zone read the end man on the line of scrimmage with Chubb. And I just don't know if that's the best way to do it. I think he's still going to hold the ball a long time. I think he's going to take some sacks as well. And again, maybe another low-scoring defensive battle here. The Browns have had good success against the Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense since Burrow was drafted, but I'm not putting my faith in Watson week 1. So I'm going to take Cincinnati.
I could see it being a very conservative offense from the Browns this week, but hey, a win is a win.
It's tough because the Bengals' defensive line is just so strong. It's tough to lean on the run game against Reader. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bengals as well.
I'm gonna take the Browns. I'll be like, I gotta rep my guys. I'll be there. I think the defense will get after it. And I do think the Bengals have some good pieces up front, but I mean the Browns have good pieces up front on the offensive line as well.
I've changed my mind, by the way, on some. I think the Bengals will be in the Super Bowl instead of the Chiefs in the AFC.
Okay.
The Bengals, when I do my final Super Bowl pick, will be there.
Because they're the best version of themselves they've been yet?
I think so. I think they are. I think that the defense is going to be really good. I think with Lou and Chidobe Awuzie coming back, and the pass rush could be a bit better. I wish it was. But I just don't think there's going to be like that many points scored against this team with Lou and the current defensive lineup. There haven't been for the last 2 years. They've been really good in the playoffs, especially this defense. And with Burrow and these weapons and now Orlando Brown, like they were on such a tear at the end of last year. They were on the doorstep of another Super Bowl, and then Osai had that dumb penalty. Like I kind of think they could tear it up. Even though Burrow could be not 100% at the beginning of the season. Yeah, Chris Jones is asking for an exorbitant amount of money. Travis Kelce maybe banged up a little bit at the beginning of the year. The Chiefs, there's a ton of teams in the AFC who have a chance, but I think that the Bengals could kind of establish themselves as a top team in the league, like they looked like towards the end of last year. I mean, they looked completely dominant, and I know that they probably overrate how much they own the Chiefs, considering the Chiefs beat them to go to the Super Bowl and go on to win the Super Bowl, but they play them as good as anybody. So
they do. And who plays the Bengals as good as anybody? The Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, that's right.
No,
so bonus take there.
Fair enough. Yeah, but I think the Browns can pull this one out. So I will trust. I'm just going to trust in their offensive and defensive line pretty much. And I think that's reasonable to do. Next up, we're in the top 3 most interesting games of week 1. We've got Detroit and Kansas City. This is tonight's game, the Thursday night game. And Theo, you made a video about how Detroit can pull this one out. And now it looks like they're probably not going to have Chris Jones. Looks like Travis Kelce may or may not. Like, if he's there, is he 100%? So are we feeling the Detroit win, Theo?
I think it's possible, even though I'm not the highest on Detroit. Like, KC is missing 2 all-pro players. Like, that's bad. It's as good a time as any for Detroit to beat the Chiefs,
It's 100%. I mean, without Chris Jones, you hope that you can really get the ground game going. There's a lot to watch in this game. There's a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, can Mahomes just totally carry with, probably the weakest weapons he's ever had in a single game before? What is Jahmyr Gibbs' role going to be? He has a secret role that is not being told to anybody, and it's going to look a lot different than you might expect. So
he's going to play quarterback
out wide, and how are they going to use him exactly? They spent such a high pick on him. You have some questions about whether or not they're going to ask more of Goff, Theo. There's a lot of new additions to the Lions' defense. How is that going to look? I'm interested to see Jack Campbell and how the defensive line continues to grow for Detroit. Can they, maybe develop into like a really nice pass rushing unit? Like I think they have the opportunity to. So there's a lot to see.
The last time Goff played Spags, it was that 54-51 like historic game in 2018, and I went back and rewatched that, and man, like you could really see that offensive line for the Rams do work. Like, they were not really touching Goff for most of the game. And when they did get pressure rushing for, it was usually because Chris Jones was the one making a big play, or they sent a blitz. And I think that you can expect a pretty heavy dosage of blitzing, because that pass rush needs to come from somewhere. And that's just Spags' calling card. Like, I get that the Lions did a really good job versus the blitz last year. I think it's coming anyway from this Chiefs defense. So yeah, like, I think that there's going to be a lot of points on the board. I think that the Lions have answers versus what the Chiefs want to do. I think that Jared Goff and Ben Johnson, and like the way this offense is designed, is kind of to beat things like the Chiefs and what they're doing, which is why they scored so many points, or McVay and Goff scored so many points against them last time. The key for the Chiefs, I think, is going to be scoring a lot of points. Like, the best defense is a good offense sometimes. And if they can get off to a hot start, get them out of some of those running looks, if they can go up, 14-0 quickly, something like that. So I expect a really aggressive intro from the Chiefs, maybe some shots down the field right away, test those corners right away. Maybe there's some rust, and try to force the Lions into passing situations when you can really pin your ears back and Goff can't really play action as much. I think that's got to be the Chiefs' plan. It's like, we don't have Chris Jones. Let's try to take a bunch of shots to MVS or something.
It is
get up 14-0.
Rice Day. We are getting 150
Could
yards.
be Justin Ross Day.
Could be anybody's day. Who knows with that Chiefs receiving core, but I think they're going to be really aggressive.
I have a bet right now, $15 to win 66, that the Lions win by at least 7.
I think that Mahomes, betting against Mahomes
at least
is the
keeps it within a score.
Grim
It'll be a
Reaper.
shootout, I think, but Mahomes probably keeps it in a score.
Maybe. But hey, if they win by 7, I win.
Yes, you do win. The Chiefs are still big favorites, which says a lot about their coaching and their quarterback.
Right. Yeah. Kind of a semi-risky bet, but that's why I only put 15 on it. So I don't know. I think it's very possible that without Chris Jones, I just don't know.
I think it's very possible that the Lions score a lot of points, but I think that Mahomes is going to score a lot of points as well. I think like the Chiefs line versus the Lions pass rush is still going to be giving Mahomes a lot of time. And no matter who's out there, like, he can bail out and create 2 plays for every play.
Yeah.
And just, it's hard to stick with any receiver when that's the way the quarterback is playing. And Sky Moore has had a year in the offense. Like, the tight ends have been there a while. Like, as long as you kind of have a little bit of chemistry with Mahomes, I think that something can break loose at any time.
You'll get something. Right. This isn't going to be like the Tampa Super Bowl where he just had no time and no one was getting open.
No, I don't think these Lions are quite the 2020 Bucs.
I don't know. Maybe they'll send some pressure. Maybe we'll see Branch coming off the edge.
I think they totally will, but blitzing Mahomes is tough too. He's unstoppable.
He is. He is as close as it gets. But I'm going to take Detroit in this one. Just potentially missing 2 All-Pros is a lot for any team to overcome. So
I'll take the Chiefs.
I will also take the Chiefs.
All right. And that brings us to the final 2. We have, first up, Miami and the Chargers. This was maybe the most interesting game of all last year when they played, and the Chargers were the ones that figured out how to stop Miami's offense by sending press man coverage across the board.
Specifically on the X is where they had it. On the isolated guy, they'd press him and then kind of play off the other way. I think that last time that was the Twitter Bowl was Herbert versus Tua. Like, I don't know if it was the most interesting game all last year, but it was the most important for social media agendas. And the Chargers won that one pretty handily. And we'll see what kind of counterpunch Miami has. They have an opportunity to do it right away, which is why I think this is so interesting. Like they kind of got figured out last year. The last 4 games, Tua only completed 58% of his passes. Didn't play very well. Lost all 4. Like it was really a fall from grace compared to the gaudy numbers he was putting up earlier. And now, right off the bat, we'll see if they struggle with the same thing, and those games over the middle stretch of last season were a little fluky, like I kind of suspect they were, or if I'm totally wrong and will be burned at the stake. And that's kind of what makes it interesting for me, is like my legacy is on the line.
Hi. Yeah, the Theo Ash legacy could really take a hit here on Sunday. There's a lot at stake. Tua versus Herbert's just funny and interesting.
It is funny.
It's just a lot of fun. And they're 2 good teams, and a tough AFC. This could be, like a wild card tiebreaker. Absolutely. It's totally within play. So that alone is exciting.
Yeah, Rashawn Slater back after missing last season. Can he pick up where he left off? I'm excited to see this Miami defensive line. It has the potential to just be world beating. But Jalen Phillips needs to take another step. And Bradley Chubb, is it fair to say that he was a little disappointing after going to Miami for a first round pick last year? I think it is fair to say that. So like those two if those two like reach their potential though, obviously a really good front 4, and this Chargers offensive line figures to be about the best it's been. So yeah. And then you got Kellen Moore. We'll see about the running game. That's probably what I'm more interested in than even Justin Herbert, is like, is this team going to lean on the run more than they did last year? I'm super fascinated to see how much like last year's Chargers Dolphins game this looks like, or if there's some miraculous turnaround or I guess not even miraculous by Miami, but just like some sort of turnaround by Miami in terms of what they do.
How they use, maybe not even how they use Tua, but how they manage Tua, knowing that he cannot take really
I don't think
any
it's going to matter.
hits.
I think I saw the preseason game. They left an end man on the line of scrimmage completely unblocked, ran a fake toss, and then turned and threw it directly into him. And it's like, that is, people get mad when you block a edge rusher with a tight end on play action. How about not blocking him at all? Like that's a good way to get your quarterback killed. And they were doing it in preseason, but it got Tyreek Hill wide open, and it was a huge gain. So I think they're gonna keep doing what they are doing, and
that's horrifying.
It's pretty it's harrowing, but
that's because that's so scary.
It is scary. But could be explosive results. Who knows? Like it's going to be a tough thing to balance all year.
It is.
I'll take the Chargers, though. I think we all know who I'm going to pick.
I'm going to roll with the Chargers as well.
I will also pick the Chargers. Trust in Herbert.
That's a good name.
I wasn't even going for like a pun.
Really?
I was just saying trust in Herbert, but no, you're right. That is a good bit. That is a good one. I'm glad I thought of it. In the last game, it's of course Buffalo versus the New York Jets.
In prime time.
A lot to prove.
Aaron Rodgers, throw Rogan. It's going to be weird.
I mean, okay, how good can the Jets be with Rodgers at quarterback compared to Zach Wilson? No, the defense is still going to be awesome, but how big of a jump is that? And how much does, the offensive line being shaky matter? And, Garrett Wilson is awesome. And just how awesome will he be maybe, but how is the depth there? With the Bills, they're a year older. I've been told that they're going to fall off completely and be a terrible, no good team and so on and so on. I'm not naming any names. I didn't.
Someone out there
has said these things by many people. I would say. So, I mean, this is just like a big time heavyweight divisional matchup with playoff implications and a new star quarterback in the mix. It just doesn't get much better than that. It just doesn't. It's just so good.
And Josh Allen versus this defense, that could be a slugfest. Josh Allen always capable of doing the most ridiculous thing possible on a football field, but I mean, DJ Reed said, this could be like a Legion of Boom tier defense, an 85 Bears caliber defense. I say you're starting Adrian Amos at safety. So maybe not quite that good, man, like on the back end. But it figures to be pretty damn good. Quinnen Williams wrecked shop against about every team, but the Bills were included in that last year. I think that there's going to be plenty of huge defensive stands from the Jets because I do think their defense is going to be super legit. But I think Josh Allen can counter anything they throw at him because he doesn't have a UCL injury anymore, and he's that guy. So
Yeah.
That's going to be awesome to watch. And then, Rodgers on the other side. I think that we're going to see a lot of one-on-ones to Garrett Wilson. I think whenever they give him that type of look, he's going to take it. So potential for a big coming out party with that connection. And we'll see, is the connection with everyone good? Rodgers, he's saying that New York is like a dream come true. He can't believe this is his life now. He's been all zen and happy. And then if anyone drops a pass, we'll see how he reacts and if it all kind of falls apart or if it all runs super smoothly like he seems to think it's going so far. So yeah, I think that this is a good pick for the most interesting of the day, primetime Monday night. Really looking forward to it. And I'm gonna take the Jets. I think that I've had faith in them this offseason. I think that Rodgers and Hackett and Wilson can do their best Rodgers and Hackett and Adams impression. There's going to be no Von Miller, and the Bills pass rush really struggled without Von Miller last year. Micah Hyde tweaked something in his back, it sounds like, and is questionable for this game as well. So again, some of my concerns with that Bills defense, older unit injuries kind of slowing them down already. I think that the Jets can come away with this one, but Josh Allen's my MVP pick, and he could come out with an MVP performance.
I'll roll with the Bills. I think he does.
Okay.
Yeah, they started off last year super hot. It's not unthinkable that they could do it again this year. I will also pick the Buffalo Bills. So those are all the games.
Yeah.
Those
Should
are
be
all the
exciting.
games.
Should be good.
Should be great. I think we should go ahead and do the stay hot locks now.
I would
Which
agree.
we do. How about you start Blaiden, then Matt, then me?
Well, so here's the thing, right? Should I go? I won last year.
That's why you get to pick first.
Is
You're
that
the
why I get to
champion.
pick first?
I want to hear your lock.
Or do you want the turn there to get the 3 and the 4?
Oh yeah, maybe you can pick.
Oh, is that what we did? Did we do? You got to pick.
We did
your...
a snake.
I think I do want the turn.
All right. So Matt will go first, then me second, then Blaiden third. How about that?
Sounds good. I'm going to go with Baltimore over Houston as my pick.
Okay.
Oh, we should explain this because it's been a year.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
let's-
It's been a long time. Basically,
it's a parlay.
it's like a parlay. Every week, you pick a certain number of games that you think is going to go one way. So I'm picking Baltimore over Houston. I think Baltimore is going to win. If I get that right, I get a point. And I'm allowed to pick as many games as I'd like to, albeit, I can't pick. If Blaiden picks one, we're drafting him. I can't pick the same one. However, the twist is that you have to get them all right.
Yes.
You can't be like, oh, I'm 2-1, I get 2 points. Because then we just draft every single one. So you got to kind of balance, how many teams do I think, have a real for sure chance of winning versus, playing it safe and whatnot.
Yeah. And Blaiden won last year. I think I did terrible. I think I won the year before. We've done it 2 years.
You won the year before. You were close, Theo. You were like 2 games back. Because you were doing really bad, and then you started to come back towards the end of the year.
That's right. I got momentum.
Yeah.
Somehow. I don't remember it, but
I went and checked. I didn't remember it either. I had to go back and check. So
Matt is taking Baltimore. I will take Jacksonville over Indianapolis.
Right.
Okay. That's fair. My first pick, I'll take Atlanta over Carolina. And then I will take Washington. Lock, yeah. And then I will take Washington over Arizona.
Sounds good. I'm going to take I'm going to take the Chargers over the Dolphins.
Okay.
Fair enough. Why not put all your
Why
money?
not?
The stakes are already 100%.
I mean, at this point,
Why not?
if the Chargers lose, I'm screwed anyway. So
Fair
might
enough.
as well add the lock.
And I'm out.
Okay, I'm
I'll
out
just
as well.
stick with
Those are
both
the
of
only ones
Yeah.
I want.
I'm good.
Okay, we'll have
So
to make a little
mascot.
graphic for it.
We'll
then,
make a little
something,
graphic.
or just tweet it out maybe.
We'll do something.
We'll do something. So, Matt, you only have one lock on the table. Theo and I both have two. This would be a really bad time for the Arizona Cardinals to prove everyone wrong and be an actual powerhouse this year.
It's happening just week 1, though.
Right. They're going to go 1-16, and this will be the one game they win, will be the time
It
that I
wouldn't
lock.
shock me. It would not shock me. Didn't that happen to the Jaguars a few years ago? They won week 1 with Gardner Minshew, and then they lost like all the rest of the games.
That basically happened to the Bears, didn't it? They won
they
two,
won week 1.
and they won
Yeah,
week
they
1,
won
and
their
yes,
week
the
1.
Jaguars
Oh,
did, and they
yeah.
had that tweet. They're like 1-0, and we're not done here or something, and they were done there.
They were done. They won the monsoon, and that was it.
So
Those Bears.
we got one more segment, right? The news segment brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy has plenty of games that you can play, fantasy leagues that you can still join. It's before week 1 or after week 1. There's still plenty of stuff that you can do. And they've also got a news page. So you get all the most up-to-date information. Will Cooper Kupp play week 1? Will Christian Watson play week 1? They'll have it on their news page. And we've got a news page as well. And we've got some contract news to talk about. Nick Bosa just signed a massive extension. Don't really...
Had to. You're a contending team. That's why, maybe that contract's a little too big and constricts them down the line, but you're a contending team. You have to do it right now, for this season. I agree.
Yeah, I think when you look at some of the moves that got made this offseason, it's a huge contract. It's probably a little bigger than you'd like, but it's not quite an outlier like Donald's is. So that's good. But Brian Burns has not been assigned a contract yet. He's threatened to hold out. Matt, he is a player on your favorite team, so I'll let you have the floor here. What are your thoughts on a potential Brian Burns extension?
I made a TikTok on this. I mean, you have to pay him at this point, but they screwed up by not taking that Rams deal.
Yeah,
they screwed up. And their logic was like, well, if you have a player like Brian Burns, that's one in, that's how I put it. That's one in the hand. A bird in the hand's worth, more than two in the bush. But you kind of have to take the risk, man. Like if you feel like you can't turn 2 first-round picks that have a chance to be really good and a second and the $30 million plus you would say by not signing Brian Burns. If you think you can't turn that into really great value, then you shouldn't be running a team.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, and not only that, not only are we just talking from like in a vacuum value, the Panthers are probably worse off just by keeping Burns, but they gave him all the leverage in the world. Now they have to sign him no matter what. They totally backed themselves into a corner. And I think it's going to lead to Burns getting a deal maybe kind of close to Bosa's. Not quite that much, but it's going to get up there, man, because their pass rush is going to be a disaster if he doesn't play. That's just a really frustrating position. It's not all bad because, you have Brian Burns, worst case scenario. Okay. But, man, I wish they would have kind of swung for the fences and taken those assets.
Yeah, 2 first-round picks from the Rams, if accurate. I mean, that could be a top 10 pick this year. And, yeah, a top 10 pick, like that could be Jared Verse for no money versus Burns for Nick Bosa money, Like, I would rather have Verse for Verse rookie money. And obviously, you'd have to pay him down the line, but I don't know. Burns is a proven tier 2 edge rusher, very good, can fly around the arc, be a productive pass rusher, but he's not the tier 1 guy who can make big plays in both phases like a Max Crosby or a Bosa or whatever you want to say.
And I would get it if he was a tier 1 guy, then it's like, okay, how often do these guys ever get on your team? Fair enough. If he was an all-pro, fair enough. Or if he was, or if the Panthers were like a contending team, okay, you don't want to move off of one of your best players. But they're not, really. They just drafted a guy. They're at the start of their rebuild. And now they're trying to fill a roster that, you know, honestly has a lot of holes, and they're down assets because of the Bryce trade when they just didn't need to be. So I'm very frustrated by it. I don't think it was a right call. I don't have the most faith in Scott Fitterer.
I don't either.
I mean, Scott Fitterer is surviving almost solely on Matt Rule made all the draft picks. It's not my fault.
Mm-hmm.
Fitterer hasn't whiffed on a first rounder. He's done pretty good in the first round.
JC.
And that's it.
Yeah.
He's made a lot of really bad trades. He has not hit on anything outside of the first yet in any meaningful way. Christensen, we'll see. Marshall, we'll see. And his free agent signings have been fine, but, you know, not spectacular. Luvu was very good. I'll give him that. And I liked Bell and Hurst, but just not the greatest. So I think this is a make or break here for him.
It might be, but I also feel like we've come into the past couple of years being pretty high on the Panthers drafts as a whole. So
well, they're not turning the Panthers. I looked this up. The Panthers have not really hit on a day 3 pick since 2015.
Right. So I don't know. My point is like, is that criticism on the GM or is that criticism on the ability to develop talent?
I think the Brian Burns situation just cannot end well for them. I think that your options are overpay him or lose him. And I think that the best option has already passed them by. And that is, I think, a pretty substantial mistake. Combining on top of that drafting that is like, I guess I'm not too familiar with the Panthers draft history, but like no big selections. Like
well,
later in the draft.
Here's my problem. Panthers fans hated Marty Herney, their former GM, the guy before and then after Gettleman. And you know what he was famous for? Really hitting in the first round consistently and overpaying the guys that we have. Mm-hmm. So what Fitterer does differently than that, other than, I guess, trade for guys who have already been busts for other team and just throw away picks? I mean, his trade history, let's look at the Bryce deal is kind of in a different league. Darnold, terrible trade. The Corral trade, disaster. Mm-hmm. I mean, even just from a pick standpoint, 2/3 for 1/3, that's not good. That's not good.
No, it's not.
CJ Henderson, there's another third down the drain. And even Chenault is along the same flawed line of thinking of, well, it didn't work out for this team and they're giving him away, but it's going to be good for us. That's going to work for us. And Panthers fans like Chenault. I'm not the biggest Chenault fan. I think he's a total gadget guy, whatever. That one's fine because they gave him a 7th. But it's like he's the opposite way. It's like you're supposed to value the later picks more. They do matter. They do. Good teams have a lot of them. Good teams stack those up and then take a lot of swings and get some hits. The Panthers do the exact opposite. It's a killer. I think
giving away DJ Moore in that trade for the number 1 pick too was like,
it was also bad.
I think that I wish they were a little bit better at negotiating there. Like,
yeah, it's like you got to be a little bit better at negotiating. And it's like, I would rather have Young than not, have traded up and not gotten a quarterback. Don't get me wrong. But you know what could have prevented that? Having 2 extra first rounders.
Yeah.
So,
hey,
just really bad, just really not great stuff. And the team isn't all terrible, and it's not hopeless or anything. But I think they've whiffed on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I think they've built it out a little wrong, and I think that when Bryce drops back, like I kind of wish. I would rather have DJ Moore out there than Brian Burns, to be completely honest with you, especially if Brian Burns could have gotten 2 firsts and DJ Moore is now, gone for Bryce Young. Like you could have been in a much better situation than where you're at now. So I agree that they kind of need to pay Brian Burns. It's kind of tough to let him walk for nothing and you're not getting much in a trade for him because he is going to be asking for so much money. So yeah, I think they're in a bad position. I think they're in a very bad position. And it's tough to say. I think they should pay Brian Burns, but it's tough to say that and feel very good about it. So rough. But that's I think all I want to talk about in the news section.
Pretty much.
You don't want to talk about Chris Jones? Nah.
I've
Chris
got
Jones
a
has
TikTok
already been
about.
talked about.
Yeah, I got a TikTok up about Chris Jones.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We kind of already talked about that with the Chiefs section. So, thank you all so much for tuning in. Been an absolute pleasure. Super excited. Football's finally here. I'm going to have a blast at the Browns game. We're going to have a blast watching football all weekend long. Going to give you a tremendous episode come Monday morning, recapping all that there is to talk about week 1. But until then, from the Stay Hot Boys, we'll catch you on the flippity flop.